In conjunction with the 41st Earth Day, members of the state Green Party held a press conference this morning outside the governor's mansion, and they urged Andrew Cuomo to support a litany of environmental issues, including a ban on hydrofracking and also the closure of the Indian Point nuclear power plant. Now, organizing this event were my next guests. Peter Lavigne is the Green Party's co-chair, and across the table we have Mark Dunlea. He co-chairs the party's Issues Committee. Thank you very much for being here, both of you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Liz.
So before we get into what you don't like about Andrew Cuomo, is there anything good that you can tell me about Andrew Cuomo, something that you support? Peter, you want to start?
You know, I think that Governor Cuomo has been talking about some of these issues, and he's discussing the hydrofracking ban, but I don't think he's been very proactive with, especially with what's been going on. We saw on Tuesday night the spill in Pennsylvania.
Right.
I wish that Governor Cuomo would come out and said that this is a concern, given the fact that they evacuated people from the town and telling farmers that their livestock shouldn't be drinking the water. I would hope that Governor Cuomo would be taking this very seriously.
Yeah, interesting. We didn't get a statement from Governor Cuomo. No reaction, actually, now that you mention it, Peter, at all. We have seen reaction from the State Attorney General, but arguably, I mean, his job is to protect the state from a legal standpoint, but the governor perhaps could take a stand, particularly since people are so concerned about hydrofracking.
We believe it's going to be the state that makes a decision on hydrofracking in New York. That it's not going to be the federal government. And DEC has actually been very pro-hydrofracking. And Governor Cuomo during the election was kind of neutral, basically, concerned about it, but let's study it. And our point is that hydrofracking, putting aside the questions about all the water quality issues and safety issues, it's a bridge to nowhere. It's another fossil fuel. It's not moving us towards a carbon-free economy. And that is, we believe, should be the emphasis, and that we need our elected officials. They all talk about green jobs when they run for office, but they don't do it once they get elected. And even countries now like China and South Korea have realized that building a green economy is the way to put their people to work. We need to do that here in New York State and invest in renewable energy, invest in solar power. One thing the governor could do, to the state's credit, 2 years ago, they started this program to energy retrofit up to 1 million homes.
Yeah.
Good idea. We'll create jobs for people. The problem has been is that the governor's office or the administration and the Public Service Commission has really delayed implementation of that through the on-bill financing issue. That, of course, came during Governor Paterson, not during Governor Cuomo, but Governor Cuomo could really push the Public Service Commission to allow that to occur or to do it rather than even trying to get legislation passed to do it.
You look at someplace like Germany, right, where they're now reconsidering going back on the ban with nuclear power. You know, now after the Fukushima incident, they're saying we need to move away from nukes. The Greens had pushed it 10 years ago, then the Conservatives came in and stopped it. One of the things that they have is a feed-in tariff, where they say you put a solar panel on your house and you actually get credit back, essentially. So you're almost renting it.
But don't you have that here, too, in America? If you create surplus power, or aren't they required to take it back from you?
There's a cap of the amount of actual wattage that you can sell back. So I really do think that we have to look at what they're doing in someplace like Germany and to say we need to incentivize people to put these things on their homes, or talk about micro wind and turbines.
Okay,
like that.
well, there is a solar bill actually that's out there, and it's moving right now, in fact. But let's talk about nukes for a second. I mean, obviously, I understand you guys don't want any, not just Indian Point, which of course has been the hot button issue of late, but you would like to see all of the plants in New York closed down. Here's the thing: if you do that, where does the energy come from?
Well, one thing we did want to point out, a lot of people don't realize, is that the nuclear plants at Fitzpatrick and 9 Mile 1 is the same design in Japan. And in 1978, this is controversial, for exactly what happened in Japan. The potential for a buildup of hydrogen gas and exploding and basically breaking apart the containment shell. That was a problem that had been identified with this particular reactor, and it occurred in Japan. I've not heard Governor Cuomo talk about these two reactors in New York.
He has, though, talked about Indian Point. I mean, he's been quite strong on Indian Point, actually.
Right.
And
so in terms of where you come up with the come up with the energy. That is where you're going to invest in the energy conservation, but also in the solar and the wind. How much money would it take to actually make United States or New York State carbon-free? The reality is it's not that much more, perhaps even less, than the amount of money we spent on bailing out Wall Street or the recent tax giveaway.
Fair enough, Mark. But here's the thing, and maybe you can go there. Where's the money going to come from, period, in incentivizing anything? I mean, part of the reason why I think the administration delays things is because, I don't know, the $10 billion budget deficit, maybe?
Well, I think the budget deficit this is a red herring. I mean, we've been saying how he said during his campaign that there's money out there, they don't want to collect it. We have the stock transfer tax on the books. The Fiscal Policy Institute has said there's $16 billion that we rebate to stock purchasers every year. This is a small tax. We wouldn't have a budget deficit if we did that. If we went back even partially to the progressive income taxes we had in the 70s, we'd have another $8 billion and give most people a tax cut. Money is out there. Andrew Cuomo and the legislature don't want to take it. They seem to rather want to slash services and
Go back to the on-bill financing issue. Energy retrofit 1 million homes. They'd only be done if you could show there was a short payback period on the return on the investment for the energy reduction. 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. Make the utility companies put up front $5 billion, $6 billion to pay the capital,
okay, but Mark,
and then you pay it back to the energy saving cost.
Okay, but the money from energy companies comes from the amount, from what they charge the people who consume their energy, their customers.
Right.
So doesn't that get passed through then to the customers, who then subsequently have to pay more in already higher energy costs?
No.
New York has high energy costs.
No, because what would happen is that, say your monthly heating bill, your energy bill is, just take a number, $200.
Okay.
And so by doing the energy conservation, you drop that cost, say, to $150. And so what the utility company does is they collect that $50 difference for 3 years to pay off the loan. So you don't have to raise the cost to the individual customers. This creates jobs, but it also saves money, and one of the things about I used to do a lot of work on utility issues and intervened before the Public Service Commission. Before 1970, every new power plant built in the country was actually decreasing the cost per kilowatt of electricity provided. After 1970, that dramatically changed, but we never changed our utility pricing structure. It makes economic sense for the utility companies to reduce the amount of energy that we're using because it's a cheaper way to provide electricity than continue to provide these power plants.
Okay.
And of course, when you come to nuclear, what happens when you have a nuclear accident like Japan just had, and suddenly you got to shut down your entire nuclear industry?
Sure. And
that's anywhere from 13 to 30% of your energy grid. That's going to be an economic disaster.
Something else that we've talked about as a party is that one of the reasons we have such high energy costs in New York City is because we've moved in the direction of deregulation and privatization. And in places like Los Angeles that actually have municipal publicly owned power, it's a lot cheaper because they're not paying their shareholders and they don't seem to need to increase rates to increase profits.
I just want to touch on the party issue because we're going to run out of time, and I want to just ask you this question about politics. For the first time since... Let's see, when did you lose it? You lost the line
8 years ago.
Okay, so you got it back thanks to Howie Hawkins, right? You hit the 50,000 threshold in the gubernatorial campaign. So for the next 4 years, you are an official party with a ballot line.
Yes.
And the first test, if you will, of the party is this special election in New York 26. It's the first time that you're actually going to run somebody, not on that statewide ballot line, I know, but
Alex White, we ran for mayor
in Rochester.
Rochester.
Okay, that's right. I forgot about that. That's right, I did. But now you have Ian Murphy. Is that a real campaign?
I think a lot of people have been criticizing Ian in our choice of Ian because he's seen as this person who pulled a practical joke on Governor Walker out in Wisconsin. But the issues that Ian has been raising are very real. He's talking about the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, progressive solutions to the budget deficit. He's talking about single-payer health care. Ian's running a very real campaign. He's just using unconventional tactics. So I think that...
Have you been on his website recently?
I have.
Okay.
And, I think what's interesting is that we take people seriously like Hochul and Corwin who have millions of dollars to spend.
Sure.
But when you're a Green Party candidate, it's often very difficult to get press coverage because we're seen as the underdog. So as much as Ian is using new media, social media tactics, I think he's been able to get the ideas out there. If you go on there and you watch his initial release, his press release, which was kind of, the thing that got him the immediate attention, he does really talk about why he's running, and I think those issues that he discusses are serious.
Okay, well, unfortunately, we are out of time, but I'm glad that you've cleared that up for us because I still wasn't sure, all right? I did ask him if I was getting punked. He said I wasn't, but now I feel much better. So, Peter Lavigne, thank you very much, and also Mark Dunley. It's great to see you guys, and Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day.